So today I'm ready to dive in. We're going to ditch the ordinary, which if you've been to my classes before, I'm a little extra. I like to do an activity and then I like to bring it up a notch. And in the past 6 months, I've really played around with open houses. And now I'm kind of strategically doing creative open houses instead of just hosting an ordinary open house, which both are great. So I'll dive into that. And so, yeah, I just look forward to kind of teaching you what I've learned, what I've done, and of course, open it up for collaboration and how you guys can take this away and start implementing in your business as well. So, Tanya introduced me a little bit. As you know, I'm in the Maryland area. I grew my business through didn't know anybody in my town. So I really started hosting open houses. So I would say that like open houses is my jam, is what I did. And that's how I started creating my sphere. And then, just kept building the foundation of business on that. And then when COVID came, open houses kind of adjusted, kind of went off. And I really changed my business model to really focusing on database touches and hosting events, which worked really well. And then 23 hit, and I mean, business was down. My business was down. I'm not sure how, 2023 was for you, but I know a lot of us had a really hard year. And I was just like, wow, like, I had all this activity and all this momentum. And I'm like, where did my business go? So it always falls back on your activity, right? So I had to increase my activity. And what I did was I decided to look back from when I started to current. And I was like, what is that lead of that business? Like, where did that business come from? This coach, recommended I do this for my business, and I recommend you do this as well. And it's the very first lead, right? So like I used to take somebody who's been in my business for now and I call them a sphere, but what I realized was how I met them was at an open house. I created the sphere, I created them as a past client, and I created those touches, but the original way I got them was an open house. So I was like, man, all right, I have to host open houses again. Yeah, and I said that a little negative because I was like, I kind of closed that chapter. As much as I loved hosting open houses, and this is what we're going to dive into, I was like, I'm not really sure if I want to give up like my Saturday and Sunday again. I got really comfortable having those that weekend open. And so that's also kind of want to, it always starts with your mindset and the foundation and the tools to create. So I was like, well, what am I going to do? And so instead of just hosting an open house, I was like, how can I make it fun again? And so this is what I did. So I've added them back in. I have a lot of energy around them. But here's what we're going to learn. We're going to, of course, talk about the mindset because that's so important in business. We're going to talk just briefly about the foundation. So this is not your generic how to host an open house. I'm jumping in mind that you know how to host an open house. And if you don't, this class is still for you. I would just recommend jumping into one of the past classes that show you how to really host the open house. I'm just not getting into the nitty-gritty of it. And then we're going to do the tools for you to create your own creative open houses. And then, of course, to have ideas. And I want you to leave excited, but I also want you to leave ready to implement. Us agents can always get stuck in the learning and not doing. And so I hope that you don't just learn. I hope that you're ready to go do. So actually, I can't see the chat, but maybe Tanya, you can let me know what people chat. So open houses don't work. I first want to hear if you guys can put a Y for yes and N for no. Who has hosted an open house? Have you hosted an open house? Go ahead and put Y. And then Tanya, can you just let me know what you're seeing? Off mute, please.
Yeah. Michaela Romero says yes. She's held several. Alexandra says yes. Sebastian says yes. Monica says yes. Many of these people have held several open houses.
Good, good, good. Now, next, I want everyone to reply as well. Who has gotten a buyer or a seller lead from an open house? So not only did you host, did you find a buyer or seller lead? Go ahead and put in yes.
Okay.
Let me know if there's any no's.
Says yes. Michaela says yes.
Good.
Monica just got one. Yes.
Yay. Awesome. Okay. And then the last one, have you closed a deal from that buyer or seller lead? Because we don't just want leads, right? Like we want to close them. Have you been able to close a lead?
Michaela Romero says no. Sebastian says yes. Krishanda says no. Monica says no.
Okay. So that's that missing link, or maybe you just started hosting them. But a lot of times when you get leads from open house, it can take anywhere from that, 30 to 90 days to even 6 months to actually close them. When you host the open houses, you're planting a lot of seeds. I will say the more open houses that you host, you do get that low hanging fruit. You do find that buyer that just got started and happened to come into the open house and doesn't have an agent, but you're going to get a mixture of both. And so if you've ever heard anybody say open houses don't work, clearly you're not in the room because you guys are hosting. But if you're feeling that, like some of you said, you haven't closed yet, or maybe you're not getting as many leads, the biggest thing about making open houses work for you is going to be consistency. And so you can't just be hosting an open house here and there, or once a month, or just when you feel like you need to. You really need to create that as a strong pillar and say, as lead generation, I'm hosting open houses, and generate all this activity, which we're going to dive into around that, so that you're getting the leads. Because it's not just the open house that helps you find the buyers and sellers, it's all the activity that you can do where you're going to find those buyers and sellers. And so you can't, just like anything, you can't just do one social media post, you can't just do one phone call. You need to be hosting these quite frequently and decide what's good for you. I mean, I would even say as consistent, if you choose to do 4 a month, that's still really good consistency. If you choose to host 1 a month, like, can you see some results? Like, yes, absolutely. I'm not going to discourage that. But obviously, the more that you really make it work with your schedule, the bigger results you're going to see. All right. So the foundation of an open house is you have to remember these key things before we jump into the creative part, is that you have to have good marketing around it. You need to be an expert of the home, and you need to know the market. So as I mentioned before, I kind of took a break from open houses and I've been hosting them again. And it's funny because I'm kind to myself, but I was like, oh man, I'm a little rusty. I forgot some of the basics that you really need. So first and foremost is you have to have time to market your open house, because you want time to do all that activity. Especially when you're doing a creative open house, you really need to be thinking about 2 weeks ahead of time, if not more, just so that you can prepare and do things the correct way. But your marketing, such as, putting up that rider, getting up your directionals all around, and putting it on social media and into the MLS, are so important, because you want as many eyes as possible to see the property. And again, this is just the foundation, not the creative piece of this. You need to be an expert of the home. I was specifically reminded of this past weekend, is people don't look at the sign. I was hosting on behalf of another agent. They do not look to see who matches. Does the person on the sign match who's in the house? They do not. They assume that you're the listing agent. So if you are not, you need to know that house in and out without being able to look at a flyer. So just knowing all the basics of the house, knowing the updates, knowing the utilities is huge. I didn't realize, I didn't understood how the heat ran, and they were asking me questions, and luckily my husband was there, and I was like, oh, this is a reminder, like, know the property, because you are the expert and you're kind of like the in-person flyer for them. Know the ages of the big ticket items, know the lot lines, know the HOA or not HOA, and like what's close lifestyle. So no matter what open house you're hosting, you must be an expert of the home. And then the last one is really knowing the market. As we know, buyers and neighbors, they have a lot of information in front of them, whether it's correct or not. We have Zillow, they know what their neighbor's doing. So you also need to know what is going on. So even though if it's not your property, do a CMA one for practice, right? CMAs are so great to do. See if it matches with what the listing agent said. Know what recently sold, know what's coming soon, know what's similar to that house, but maybe nearby or downtown. By knowing all of this, I'll be honest, we got really lucky. And I say we because my husband was hosting with me, and then we hosted with the lender. We happened to be hosting an open house previously downtown, and then we went and toured my downtown Frederick. We went and toured just a bunch of homes, just because I wanted to see what was going on. I wanted to get some footage. I just did it naturally, not on purpose. Don't do what I did. Do it on purpose. And I had all this information, and then we hosted a house that's close to downtown, but not quite downtown. And guess what? We got so many questions about what was closer to downtown. This was too far away. What's the price difference? And we were the experts, because we had just said, oh, we actually just toured a house that, XYZ. So take the time, because I guarantee the buyers have. So if you're going to do this open house, know what's around, know what's available. And if you don't, like, you always have that opportunity for a great follow-up, but show your expertise now. Like, give a little bit, like, say, hey, I just toured actually all these downtown properties. After I'm hosting this, I'll be able to send you what I found. It might be a better fit, right? So you don't have to give all your details out, but the fact that you know is going to be really huge. So that is just your basics of your foundation. Again, if you haven't hosted one, go to a foundation class, but I just wanted to start that out because we're going to take all these tools and then we're going to jump it into the creative open house. So as I was kind of my creative open houses started first, honestly, with just including my kids, because as I said, I needed new energy on a Saturday, and my daughter was excited, who's 10 years old, to host a lemonade stand. This was in the summer, and literally, I just did it so that she was with me. I didn't have to worry about coverage. I thought she would have fun, and I thought we could donate the money to a local shelter. That's literally why I did it. I did not realize all the attention that I would get from it, the neighbors that would come from it, and all the extra marketing that I could get. So fast forward to a house that was stale, a listing of mine in December. We were 3 to 4 weeks, quarter four was slow. We're around the holidays. They didn't really want to do a price drop. And I was like, would you mind if I just host a hot cocoa bar? And my seller literally said, he's like, no offense. He was like, why is a hot cocoa bar going to sell my $525,000 house? And I laughed. I was like, I get it. And I'm with you. I was like, it's not the hot cocoa that's actually going to sell the house. I was like, it's my strategic marketing that's going to get attention. And what happened when I hosted this hot cocoa bar was I got 30 new database ads. I got 3 prospects for buyers and sellers. And because I was hosting that listing, like, your goal is to sell the house, we ended up getting 2 offers on the property. So was it a success? Absolutely. And so why was it a success? Why was it a success? Was because I was extra. Like, what do you see in this colorful picture? I hope you see the big bird. But that's what it did. The market is so saturated with open house advertisements, whether it's agents or people, if they just see open house, people just know what it is. And our brains they want to work easily, right? So they just pass it. But all of a sudden, when they see like hot cocoa bar or open house with a cocoa charm, like whatever, I stopped the scroll and people started paying attention to, what is this? The neighbors started paying attention. The agents started paying attention. They wanted to know more because it wasn't just the average open house. And so that's what I told them was the goal. I was like, if you give me this small activity, what I can actually do is really advertise that. And these are the ways that I chose to do. And this comes later too, but if you want to take a picture, you can. So here's what I did. I created an event on Facebook because those are free. When people go look to see what's going on for the weekend, it pops up. More eyeballs. My database saw that I did it. Agents saw that I did it. Like, I'm just getting that exposure. The bonus was being able to post it on local community pages. And I would say that by far was my biggest success and where I got most of the leads, was from being able to post it on the local community page. I also got really lucky because I was not a part of that community, nor could I be, but the seller posted it on my behalf with my information. And I know because of that, and because they were willing to do it, that was where I got probably close to the 30 database leads. I dropped off flyers with candy canes to the neighbors that were close by. On that one, I did a QR code to HomeBot. I use HomeBot to get people into the system for a drip campaign, which works because I haven't talked to a client or not even a client, a prospect in probably 4 years. They won't really text me back. They won't really call, but they open up my HomeBot and I just got a pre-list appointment for next week. So sidebar, if you're not using HomeBot, take a look at that. And I would say, I'll be honest, I haven't really gotten the leads from HomeBot, from my QR code. I'm still really working on that. So if anyone has ideas, sidebar with me later. What I did have the most success was putting a QR code with the open house flyer. People wanted to see what the property was. They wanted to see how much what it was. And so from there, I'd probably just do the QR code of the listing, which I'll show you in just a minute. But then I took and attached a flyer, as you can see in the bottom corner, to wrapping paper, which was so fun. And I distributed to townhomes in the neighborhood because they have potential of wanting to move up to the single family. So I specifically invited 20 neighbors. That's just was my goal. And then I think I dropped off 60 wrapping papers to the townhome neighborhood. Now, you have 2 ways to do it. Are you a door knocker and want to knock on the door and see if you can talk to somebody? Go for it and do it. I used to do that when someone opens up the door. It's so easy to just to invite them to an open house because you're there for a reason. So if they don't want you at their door anymore, you can just say, I'm inviting you to open house. Here's some wrapping paper on me. Let me know if you have any questions. I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm just more of a pop by drop off person, but just know that you can do it either way. And then I visited local businesses to hang flyers. So that was person to person, letting them know I was in real estate. Did they have any needs? Can I hang this flyer? And then I leveraged, of course, my social media platforms, which was huge and got attention. And then I sent a creative email to my database. This was a great one, which I've hosted an email marketing class that Tanya has the recording for. But it's a great way to reach out to your database for a different reason. So I let them know that I was hosting the hot cocoa bar, that if they knew of anyone looking in this area or wanted to stop by, they could. And then, of course, since it was my listing, I did use reverse prospecting in the local MLS to market to the agents because my goal is to sell the house. But it got attention. Agents replied, "Oh, this was fun. Oh, this is interesting." Like I got the agents, the agents to notice it, and then I was like, "Hey, your client has interest. If you don't want to take them, send them." Well, I didn't word it like that, but you know what I mean. Let me take work off of you and come visit at the hot cocoa bar. So this is not just your average event, right? I put a lot of effort into this, which is why you don't have to do all creative open houses. Maybe it's one a month, but I created all this activity around it that again got me the success of the 30 database leads, 3 prospects, touched my database, and then we got the 2 offers on the property. So that's why it works. So the bonus for me is my 10-year-old daughter was with me and she took charge of hosting the hot cocoa bar and she collected money for our local animal shelter. Now, here's an example of my flyer. I'm by no means a marketing expert, but I do have a marketer on hand. I will say, and I'll go jump into this on the next slide, it's eye-catching because I put my girls on there. Now, that's a personal choice. I'm comfortable with it. My husband knew where I was, like they're going to be with me. But as you can see, this is a little bit different and catches some attention. You can use, a different photo, but like it's not just open house. There's multiple things there. So this flyer worked really well, and that's what I used to drop off in little plastic bags, and that's what I used to hang up at the local businesses. So one more example is my lemonade. You can see I have reused my hot cocoa looks the same. My daughter came with me, and this is where it was a condo. And so in all the condo, they have a bulletin board, as you can see. She helped me. Like so it's a bonus for me because I'm including her, but I'm also just showing you can do it as well. And then you'll see my little cuties hosting a lemonade. Now, okay, great. What if you don't have any kids or your kids are all grown up? You're like, I'm about to leave this class because how am I going to do this? Well, one is you don't have to have the kids. You don't have to have the kids to do the creative open house. We have more ideas. This is just a great way if you do happen to have one. But you also have 2 options is if you work with a local lender, do they have kids that they want to involve? And you could ask them, and plus you're getting co-hosting help. When you do creative open houses, if you can get a lender to come with you, it's best because you could get a lot of people there and you really want help navigating. At my last one, it was myself, my husband, and a lender, and I still probably could have used one more person because it was really busy. But if you don't have kids, ask your lender, or if you're comfortable, this is a great way to help support a local young entrepreneur. You can 100% ask your database. Let them know, hey, I'm hosting an open house. Reminder, I'm in real estate. And we've had great, another agent has had great success from hosting a lemonade stand. Do you have a child that would love this opportunity? And then you can kind of decide if they get the proceeds or if maybe you'll match it. Maybe you'll match what they make and donate to, like, people love the charity piece. So like I paid my daughter, I was like, I'll pay you and then we'll tell them that you're donating this money because then it was a win-win. She was, earning for working and then it was a good cause. But try to be creative if you want to include kids. You can do it that way as well. And I think that showcases you as well. Like you're supporting young entrepreneurs because you enjoy the lifestyle as well. So obviously I have my kids in there, but I just didn't want you to get turned away quite yet. Any questions so far? Are we good to keep going? I can't see the chat box. Good.
Nope,
Okay.
looks like we are good.
All right. So your foundation of your creative open house is you need to have a goal. Like you need to kind of think of the property. So whether it's your listing, you need to say, hey, is this a good opportunity where there's a lot of neighbors, there's a lot of townhomes, there's a cool HOA, there's cool community, or it's close to something, or it gets a lot of traffic, or purposely find that property. So kind of just based on my experience to kind of put it into context, like I know hosting downtown or close to downtown is going to be key for creative open houses. So if I feel like I want to put in the extra energy, I'm going to either hope that I have a listing down there, or I'm really going to try to find a listing down there because I just know that it's successful. So just kind of your goal. What's the goal of the property? And what do you really want to get out of it? Are you looking for the most buyers? Are you trying to attract the neighbors? This latest open house that I had, I was not ready for 10 neighbors to come through. I was like, oh, wow, you guys really like to know what's going on your block. So now I'm just going to be prepared for that in future, like have a little neighbor, package or something for them, or I'm going to do that differently because I was like, wow, okay, I wasn't ready for you guys. So just kind of have your goal in mind, and then you're going to select the right property. Is this a property that I feel is going to get good attraction? Now, I've had a lemonade stand that busted, right? Like it was just a really hot day. A storm was coming in. We ended up cutting it out early. So just know that you can only do your best to try to select the property, but by doing all that activity, it's still a win. And kind of going back from the beginning when, I was like, how do you feel about open houses? I always said open house was a success if I could add somebody to my database. I wasn't always so focused on a buyer or a seller, which I know is what we want, but we also just have to remember like how many leads are you adding to your database is really a good goal. So kind of put those in mind. And then who's the target audience? So at that property, like, who do you think will be coming? Have you done a drive-by? Do you know if there's lots of kids in the neighborhood? You can ask the owners, about the property. You can ask the listing agent what they know about the property. Like do your due diligence of kind of who's that target audience and what do I think that I could do that would bring the most people. So then, of course, we have to prepare and plan. So you do have to budget. These can cost a little bit more. That's the one thing that I liked about open houses is that they didn't cost that much money. And I'm not saying that they have to. The lemonade stand is super easy. I bought some supplies. I got lemonade. I already had a table. I already had a tent. And the hot cocoa bar really didn't cost me anything. But you just kind of have to decide what's your budget and what works and be willing to explore to see if it fits for you. You could also get a sponsor. So like I said, it's much more fun hosting with more than one person. When I first started hosting and my husband was not licensed at the time, I always hosted with a lender. It's just more fun. They're helpful, two different personalities and two different expertise there. You got an agent and you got a lender. So you can always ask them if they'd be willing to sponsor of some sort, or help you get your creative open house to come to life, basically. Design that eye-catching invitation. So then making it different, you don't want to overcomplicate marketing because you don't want people to be confused. So I still used open house. I just said open house with a twist, lemonade, open house with a cocoa charm. So like you still want to use words that people know, but can you just either make it eye-catching or something a little bit different so that it pops out? So again, that we're stopping that scroll. I also know that's why I used my kids because I knew that it would stop. They don't just see Laura Malec selling, real estate. They saw my two kids on there. So I did it, purposefully. And then, of course, you want to market it multiple ways, which we just talked about. So if you're going to take the effort to plan this creative open house, you need to plan how am I going to get the most people there? So focus on those neighbors, see if there's those businesses, use it to reach out to your database, but you need to have that marketing and plan, especially if we go back to the budget word, if you're going to spend money, do the work so that you're getting the results that you want. And then plan it out on your calendar, which I think is, we all know, but I'm going to say it like it takes time. Do you have the wrapping paper? Do you have the printing? Do you have the wrapping paper to be able to tie it to the wrapping paper? Are you going out days before to do that door knocking or the pop by? Like it's a plan. And what I have found that like when, you don't plan, then it fails, quote unquote. So don't do that. So really have it penciled down of the things that you want to do, the day that you're going to do it, backup plans so that it's a success for you. So let's jump into a few ideas, which are pretty easy, but these are the easy ones. Obviously I've done a lemonade stand. There's my girls again, like it gets attention. The hot cocoa bar was really great. We're gonna add a snow cone stand because my daughter, she's really into this right now, so I'm also fine with it. And then I literally, my husband bought us a popcorn machine. Like it's the little popcorn machine that has the wheel, and like you're making people feel good. Like who doesn't like popcorn? And if you don't, that's fine. But most people like popcorn, or they're like, wow, this agent's a little different. But we found it off Marketplace. I'm so excited to do it. And then an idea is the coffee bar too. You know, like if you know maybe you're in an older generation neighborhood, or if you know people have been there for a long time. Again, it's just something fun and different, and it gets people's attention and makes you stand out. So those are some kind of easy ways to do it. You can think strategically. I have not done these, but I want to. Is there a food truck or paying attention to small local businesses in your area that just want the exposure? So I always say it never always has to come from you and you have to pay for everything. Like you could work up to that, but finding people who are new in the business, need more exposure, or is a food truck willing to go there? Like you could do the snow cones truck, like you don't have to necessarily pay for it, but who's not excited that a snow like that still gets attention? Wow, this open house has snow cones. My kids saw it. I went and bought them snow cones. Like, don't overthink it. It's getting attention. You could do support some kind of local business if anything's close by, or having an expert available for questions. And I haven't done this one either, but if you wanted to, have some kind of, if there's a newer like designer that's available, or even if there's a stager, the lender is available. But like, is there somebody else that they like not only could come tour the open house, but ask this person for, questions? A financial advisor, like just getting your wheels going and mine. This is why I also like to teach classes because I'm like, oh, how can I do it even better? But just kind of think, how can I be different? And I guarantee like this will start you'll start thinking of things, or tour some other open houses to see if anybody's doing anything, or pay attention to social media where others are sharing what they've done. Because I'm 90% sure I got the lemonade stand idea from another agent. I don't it wasn't my original. Like I never put the two and two together. Sure, you can host a lemonade stand. I never thought about doing it at open house. So start opening your eyes to what other people are doing or what other businesses are doing, and say, can I do this for my open house? But this one is really cool. So those are like the food and beverage kind of ideas. You can also, what is going on? My friend likes to call it, what's the latest buzz? Like what's buzzing? What are people buzzing about? What are people talking about? What holiday is it? And I wish that I would have thought this, but an agent had eclipse glasses. They had, I don't know if you've seen it, but they had like 100 or 200. They marketed crazy for it. They said, come tour the house, get glasses on me. Like, I was like, oh man, that was brilliant. So pay attention to what's coming up in the next couple weeks. That's going to create some buzz that people want. And just like piggyback off of that. You could I saw someone did an egg hunt. They had hidden some eggs throughout the house. Like you don't want to take away from the open house, but you are just making it fun and different. Or you could say there's an egg on your way out in the backyard. You do, if it's not your listing, of course, you need to get permission from the listing agent and from the client that, you can say like what you want to do, but make sure you focus on how it's going to benefit the seller. And that's that whole marketing and extra eyeballs. All this stuff that we're talking about benefits you, but you're also benefiting the house. Just as I talked about with the hot cocoa bar, and my seller's like, how's this going to sell my house? And then it was funny because after I got 2 offers, I said, well, Bob, looks like my hot cocoa bar did sell your house. And we had a good laugh about it. Cinco de Mayo is coming up, people. Who wants to host on the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th? I saw churros. Like I'm out of town, but I was like, oh, churros would be fun. If you feel comfortable giving out little tequila, little margarita boxes, you could kind of think of like, what could you do as a pop by, and can you bring that to the house? And then that's how you're marketing that. You can tell the neighbors, hey, stop by, for feedback, and get, Eclipse glasses, get, a little margarita on us, like however you choose to offer. And then just another one coming up that I just kind of thought about quickly is like, the next holidays, 4th of July. I mean, I guess you have Memorial Day, but, like little sparklers, like just doing just a little something. If it's buzzworthy, or even if like it's close to a local business, doing a gift card from the local new business, like just think what's new and exciting is what people want and what people are paying attention to, which kind of leads into the same thing, but then basically it's a reverse pop by. So what I call a reverse Popeye is when someone's coming to my house, my open house, for the gift. So I plan to do one for Mother's Day. I haven't quite figured out the logistics yet, but some type of flowers where maybe they can pick a few flowers and they can walk away with. But that way I can market it to the neighbors, like stop by, grab flowers for yourself, for your mom, for a mom you know. Anybody that comes by can walk away with little flowers. And I can do my whole hot cocoa bar marketing for that. You can do a nice gift card giveaway. Again, like if they can see it and they know it and it's like, and it's desirable because you kind of have to think about like what makes you sign up for a gift card. I was at like a local event and they were all trying, like, they're all trying to get my information, which I understood and respected and I knew, but I didn't give the information to something that I didn't want to win. So try to make it, generic and exciting that they would want it. And then, or do you want to up the ante, I guess. And like, do you want to do something special just for the neighbors? So you can invite them and say, hey, if you stop by and come tour the open house and get feedback, I'll enter you in for and insert what that is. And so like, I am creative. So I was just trying to give an idea, but like maybe cut the yard on you. Like that's what they could win. Like who doesn't want a day off mowing or, something like that, something that they could look forward to and incentivize them to, hey, come stop by, give feedback because I want your information and you can win something on me. So those are kind of the ways that you could do the creative hosting open house, whether it's food and beverage or kind of just, taking that buzz and excitement or even just doing the reverse pop by, which can be on the smaller side and, cost worthy. Like the flowers is going to be a little bit more expensive, but that's just something that I want to invest. But I even did last week, I just happened to have it at my open house. A package of seeds of flowers and I put my business card with them. Cause again, it was just like a little touch, a little added something that they could walk away with. My goal is to get their information and feedback, but I saw people were excited about my little flowers. So we'll see. All right. So then how we're going to market it, which we kind of talked about, but you need your pillars, you need your social media, you need your email, and you need your person to person because this is where the business comes from. If you choose just to put a sign up in the yard and show up at an open house, you're not going to get that as much out of it. Could you get lucky? Absolutely. But it's the activity here that's going to help you get the business that you're looking for. So on your social media, put up that event. It's free. We talked about that. Put it on your personal page because you're reminding people that you're hosting. If you choose to have a business page, put it there, like put it everywhere. And also like this one's different, right? So if you are hosting open houses at a high level, you can choose how you want to market it. But that's why you want to do this creative one because it's going to stop people like, oh, Laura's not just hosting an open house. Wait, what is she doing? What are her girls doing? Oh, that's so cute. Again, mission accomplished because I stopped the scroll. And then the community pages is really huge. So again, if you can, that's where like
Can I
kind of
pause
that,
you really quick and ask a question before you
yeah,
go on about the event? So
yes.
when you say you post your event, are you creating a Facebook event? Are you creating an Eventbrite event? How are you posting the event?
Thank you for that. I'm just putting it in Facebook. So it's the free event, it's in Facebook. And then when people like open up their Facebook to look to see like what's going on and they're in that area, they'll naturally see it, even if I'm not friends with them. So if you did an event in Bright Link, I mean, I just haven't played around with that, but that's specifically like asking someone to sign up or use that platform. But that's why I choose to do Facebook because it's public. So anybody could see it. They don't have to be friends with me.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then the community pages is huge. So again, if you if you're not in the community page of just that neighborhood, ask the seller to do it and give them verbiage and make it easy on them. And then what other community pages can you post in? Of course, you just have to be careful with the rules of the page or ask the admin. And then this is why too, like you just want to make sure that you're not over bombarding pages and stuff. So that's why it's fun if you're only hosting one a month, feel free to post on those pages as long as you're collaborating, don't just post. I just lost my train of thought. On the Facebook pages, social media, well, the thought will come back.
I do have a question
Um,
about that. So going back to like the event, when you do create an event in Facebook,
yeah.
are there any hacks that you do? Like, do you tag the neighborhood? Do you hashtag the neighborhood? Like, what is it about your Facebook event that like pops, it's different than.
I
anybody-
don't think necessarily anything that I do pops. I just put it in the events of Facebook because again, I just know that anybody can see that event. So it's just a public event. I have the picture, I have the verbiage of like the open house with the chip twist or with the cocoa charm. And then it's just the description. And then they have like the I use KV Core, so I have the squeeze page of the link for the full details. I post a few pictures. That's all. I haven't tried to take it up a notch. It's just been successful from there. I haven't played around with hashtags, but I don't know I don't know if you'll be able to, if since it's like on my personal, I don't know if I'd be able to follow any analytics to see where it was driving traffic. So I'm not sure. Does that answer the question? Does anybody want to speak up on whoever was asking? No. Okay. More questions on social media. So the goal of social media is to look different and then to post to remind everybody. And then that community page was my biggest success from it. Questions there?
And then, so you basically just create the image that's similar to your flyer.
Oh yeah.
Do
So
you-
I'm a firm believer in keeping marketing very, very, very consistent so that if the person, like if the neighbor happened to like to get my pop by and then happened to also see it in Facebook or saw it on the community page, it works best when the marketing is the same. So I never change it up. Same marketing. That's a really good question. And it just works. You may think that like if you have a creative soul or you're like, oh, this is boring, or it's not like it, that's just what works for the brain when they see the same thing over and over again. And it also be like, oh, I should go to this maybe. So no, consistent branding. And I also want to make it easy on myself. I'm also very purposeful. I'm like, how can I do something with the least amount of time, but with the most purpose and power?
So a lot of people are going to think here, like, how do I do that? And how do I resize all my branding? Can you just real quickly just tell people how they do it in Canva? Like if you create something that you
Yeah. So I mean Canva is very easy. It's so easy. So I have like the flyer, you pick the flyer, and then I have everything's done. So that's what I start with first because my flyer is the most important because that's what's going out to the neighborhoods. And then from there, you can literally, you're in that document and you can literally ask Canva to resize it, and you can resize it to a Facebook event, and then it will, and it'll do its best to switch everything that you have going on. And then you may just need to adjust a few things to make it look good, but it's 10 times easier than having to make multiple make multiple images, I guess you could say. And then I can do the same thing. I can resize it for Instagram and story. So once you have it done, then take that time to resize it to all your social media platforms that you're going to use. And then you're set to go with all the same marketing. More questions. Moving on. Okay, so that was social media, probably like your most important one. But then never underestimate the power of email because again, this is touches. So this is a great way where I just love to use something new to reach out to people that I know. And so even if you're already talking to your current buyers, or maybe this house is not even for them, this is where we don't overthink it and we send it to them anyways, just to let them know like, hey, this is where I'm at, or you should come see this house, or if you're in town, like however you want to do that verbiage. It just does a really great touch to remind people you're in real estate. We need to be touching our contacts, and especially our leads, quite frequently. So instead of doing a, hey, just following up, or hey, is there a property that you want to see? You can just let them know like, hey, I'm hosting this open house this weekend, lemonade stand. If you're around, come support. Again, if you pair it with that somewhat charity, it's just, come support the animal shelter, come and support XYZ. Like it just gives warm fuzzies. And the whole goal again is just to be in front of them. So even if they don't come, you did your activity and your due diligence by staying in front of them. It was a great database touch to let them know. I also did it as a follow-up to my past clients. I was like, how I sold a house this way. And I let them know, this is what I did, and this is why the strategic marketing worked. And then I closed with it. If you know of anyone who's looking to make a move, looking to sell, I'd love to talk to them about, strategic marketing, blah, 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 refer me, or not refer me, introduce us. Reverse prospecting is because you are working for your seller, But it's also, don't underestimate the power of just agent connections and things like that. But my goal is to sell the house. So if it is your listing, it's another way of you showing value to your seller, of how it's going to stand out. And then letting agents know about it. It was really great. There was multiple agents that I didn't even like, I'd run into and they're like, didn't you host like a hot cocoa bar? I was like, oh yeah, I did. Which means they saw me, which means they saw my listing. Like, it's all about connections, people. It all matters. So when you're doing something, do it really purposeful.
I have a question,
Hmm.
but I have a statement actually. One of the reasons why you and I are friends is because of all your marketing that I've seen online. Like, I'm like, I need to be friends with her. And in a sense, it's actually your marketing is so good that it's almost like you're untouchable. Like, I was like, okay, if I reach out to her, it looks like she has all her stuff together. She's so successful. Like, is she even going to want to talk to me? Even me, like, is she going to want to collaborate with me? And it just shows that like your marketing is working for other agents that have even been in the business. I've been in the business 23 years. Like, I'm watching you. So everything you're doing is working. Can you please give the definition of reverse prospecting? A lot of
Oh,
people don't understand what that is, and
mhm.
I think it's probably a good thing. So,
Well,
uh,
this is what I call it. So if you call it something different, let me know. But reverse prospecting for me is on I have the MLS in Maryland, which is where the properties are listed. We have a function, a button that says, I can go look and it shows me all the agents that have buyers that received this email in a drip. And so that received that house in a drip. So I know they have a client who's probably looking in Brunswick was the area or is looking in that price point that may want to see this property. And then I have the capabilities of just sending out a mass email and saying, hey, it looks like you have a buyer that might have interest in this property. And then I said, let me take some work off you this weekend. I'm available. Please send them to the open house. You can register them, etc. That's reverse prospecting for me. Is that the same for you?
yeah, it's basically real estate marketing techniques that help listing agents find agents to have potential buyers.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I said.
Yep, it's perfect. It's just a lot of people don't understand that term, and so I thought it'd be good to
Yeah.
explain that.
That would no, you did a nice job explaining that. Yes, what you said. But I put it on here because it's important that like this class is to help us and build our business, but at the same time, especially now with changes in the real estate, we have to show our value. So there's still a huge value to the seller for doing this, and that's the part that up front we need to focus on, whether it's to the agent that we're hosting to or to the seller, of like, you guys get to see that you're going to email it to all your prospects and current buyers. That's a win. You're going to email it to your database. That's a win for your client. And then this reverse prospecting, that's a win for your client. And then let the agents know about it. So it's all kind of the value, good value for you, but then showing your value to the seller. Because at the end of the day, they're like, well, what about me? What's in it for me? And so you have to make sure that they know. Questions on the email? Good to go. All right, and then the person is up to you and what works for you, but I encourage you to get uncomfortable. One thing is like personal invites are really easy to do. And so what I like to do is I like to set like little goals for myself because that's how my personality works. And so I'll be like, what's 5 people that I can personally text or call and just invite them to this. So whether like they live close by, whether I haven't seen them for a while. Like I usually kind of strategically think of who's near and dear to the area that I could say, hey, you should stop by this open house. So cue your brain to say, who haven't I talked to for in a while that might benefit from stopping and at this open house, and just again like you're inviting them to something. It just opens up the conversation. It's fine if it's a no, it's a fine if they don't respond. It's just a different way of touching, so you're not just saying just following up, just following up. Door knocking neighbors. This is when I was just getting started. I would door knock neighbors for the open house. It was my favorite. You won't catch me in a neighborhood just because that's just not me, but you will catch me in a neighborhood to invite them to an open house. I think it's super easy. I can read the energy. First, I'm like, your energy is not good. I'm not sure why you opened the door, but I can handle this quickly. And then the other people that open are warm and welcoming, and I'm trying to get their information and I'm inviting them. So it's the easiest kind of door knocking to do. If you have not door knocked, I would highly suggest that you try it. And if you really don't want to do it, then come up with a cute pop by. I did the wrapping paper, or otherwise I love grabbing the clear plastic door hangers. I put the flyer in, I have a pen in there. I do chip clips for the first 20, and it's just cute. And then I don't have to door knock, but they received it. And then again, having that QR code to the property with a squeeze page is huge, because then I saw that they looked at the property. Speaking of that, I will say at the hot cocoa bar, I said I got 30 database leads. I did not get 30 people through that open house. I got 10 families through that open house, but I got 30 database ads. So that's why that QR code to that flyer and being a squeezed page is really important, because you need to be collecting their data. And before Tanya says anything, a squeezed page is
I actually was going to say, can you tell us about that and show us what that is?
So I use my CRM is KV Core. You can check your CRM, but basically I can make a site that is going to bring people to the property of the house. And then I have settings where I can say they can click on it once without being registered, or they can click on it twice without being registered. I allow 0, because I'm like, if you want to know about this house, you're giving me your information. So I do 0, and I'm like, you're giving me information because they're nosy. And then when they open up the property, they somehow say okay, whether it's like Facebook, Google, it happens to us all the time. And then I get their information and put it into my KV Core.
Okay, so a question for you.
It's
You
like a
talk
landing
about
page.
KV Core, and then you also talk about HomeBot. So on the flyer, is
Mhm.
that going to KV Core, which is free for all you guys, especially for your EXP? This is so free. Or do you send it to HomeBot? That's where even I'm confused.
I just do the flyer. I have to play around with it. The flyer got the most success. They wanted to know about the house. They wanted the details. That's where I got the database ads. On the neighbors, and I'm still playing around with it. I tried the HomeBot and I got 0 leads from it. So I don't have success from that yet. And I'm
Okay,
still
so
trying to figure
tell
it
us
out.
more about that. Like, so you tried the HomeBot, meaning when the neighbors came in, you said go to HomeBot, and when you handed the flyer went to your KV Core squeeze page. Is that what you're saying?
No, I did, which is also probably what I learned from that open house. I tried too many things at once, so you should stick to the one. The success is from the flyer and having that QR code lead to that property, because they were curious about it. And what's nice is because then I know what they're curious about. I know what I can send them, which means I can send them updates similar to that property. So when I had a condo, I did a squeeze page. I know I can give them condos for sale. When I had a single family in Brunswick, I know I can send them single family homes in Brunswick. So that is where you want to go. I have been playing around with HomeBot and have not had success. So around the neighbors, instead of giving them, so I personally chose to do HomeBot because I knew the neighbors talked that I already knew they knew. They knew the details about the house. They knew the price. So I was like, ooh, I'm going to do HomeBot because I want to get their email and get them into my system. They did not scan my QR code. My marketing or the incentive is not exciting enough for them to be like, oh, I need this. And I am determined to figure out how to get people. And then same thing, I do have some stuff at my open house with that HomeBot information. And it's still, I'm not able to lead capture as of yet. And I am not giving up. So watch for my class upcoming when I say how to get leads from HomeBot. But it's up and coming. So I would just play around with that. I don't have answers on the HomeBot. I would do QR code for the property. Did I close that loop? Okay. Yes. All right. And so I think the person to person's good. Oh, the flyers to the local business. So anywhere, there's bulletin boards that you can put up, or you just ask. We had businesses that said no, and we had businesses that said, yeah, put it right up there on the front part of the door. And I was like, sweet, thank you. So it's just another way to, get it advertised out there and to get people from the leads. I will say, what time is it? 11:50. Okay, this is a pro tip. Can I give a pro tip really quick? This is what I learned. If you're going to do QR codes for what you want to label what that QR code is. So what I wish that I would have done and what I do now is when you can do a hashtag. Is everybody using KV Core here? Maybe. Okay. Well, I'm just going to speak in terms and you'll have to figure out if your CRM does it. But basically, when you create that squeeze page, you can also create a hashtag so you know where that lead came from. And I wish I would have created a squeeze page that I knew came from my flyers. I wish I would have created a squeeze page that I knew came from my community page. And I wish I would have created a squeeze page that I knew came from the business to business flyer. Because I got 30 database leads from this last one, or from the hot cocoa bar. And I was like, crap, I don't know what worked. But this is your friendly reminder to say, just do the activity because you're going to get better. You're going to get smarter. I'm giving you the pro tip now. But like, you don't know until you do. So it's just a reminder of that. But that's what I would do differently, so that I just kind of knew where it came from. And that way, again, I can communicate with that person because I know more information about them. So I only did the one. It's still a win because I still just communicate to them about the Brunswick community and the single family houses. So it still works. Like I said, it was just a pro tip for you. All right, and then we're finishing up here. So then just the day of the creative open house, you want to have a good flow. You want to remember your purpose, which is collecting the data, and then you want your follow-up plan. And you do have to think about this because I had a hot cocoa bar and I was like, where's this hot cocoa going? Is it in the house? Are they going to walk around with it? Like, what am I going to do? So you kind of have to think about the house, or go tour the house before you, if it's not your listing, to make sure that you can do it. And just have a really good plan of how are people coming in? How are they going to be directed? And do they understand the flow of which it goes? So I did do the hot cocoa bar. The plan was to do it in the garage because I just didn't want the hot cocoa in the house. Or you could say you can get hot cocoa on your way out. Luckily for us, when we did it, it was a really nice day. So we were outside with music. So it was really great. The lemonade stand is obviously out front because I'm still trying to attract neighbors. And yeah, so you have to understand your welcome and flow and how it's going to work, because people do want to be directed. So when you can let them know and welcome them, or come tour the house, give feedback, here's a ticket to go get a snow cone on me if you're doing the food truck. Come tour the house, welcome, give feedback, then you can enter for the giveaway. Like, whatever your plan is, make sure that you have that welcome and that the client understands the flow and how it works for it to be the most successful. And then your goal is collecting that feedback and contact info. So you have to make sure that's set up right away, so that they know to expect it. Now, do you do paper form? Do you do, I don't know what you call that, digital computer, iPad way? Like, that is up to you, and you have to play around with it. Paper just works really well for me. I have a feedback sheet that's small. It's individualized on a small little clipboard. It asks them about the house, then it asks their information, and asks if they're moving or if they're working with a realtor. It has worked from 9 years ago, and again today. I just used it this last weekend. It just works really well. I typically can read their handwriting. They typically give me good information. The right people, right? Like, the right people do. And that's all that I'm worried about. I'm not worried about getting everybody, but I am worried about getting the right people that I want to connect with, that want to connect with me too. You're always going to get that person that zips in, doesn't want to talk to you, and gets out. And I just say, have a nice day. But make sure that you have that system and that feedback, so that your goal, because if you're spending the money and you're spending the time and you did all the activity, which is great, but make sure you're getting out of it what you need to get out of it. And then how are you going to handle a large crowd effectively? So if it is, like, think big, right? Let's think big, and let's say it's going to be a huge hit. What are you going to do? Who can you get? Can someone from title come? And can someone from lending come? Do you have anybody else in your world that wants, that's kind of house related, that can help you? Like, and also it's great because it can be a Facebook touch. Like, if you're looking, hey, I'm actually looking for any new landscape, anyone that owns a landscaping business, like, if you want to come help me host this open house, like, never underestimate who is in your system that can help you. And you're also reminding everybody that you're in business and that you support local businesses. Like, do you see how I tie everything together with the bow? But you are going to want people. Again, we had 3, especially if we host that like lemonade stand. For me, like, I want to be out there with my girls because I'm connecting with them, and then I have my husband on the inside connecting. So you kind of have to think about that. If you don't have the kids or that other, like, help there, what are you doing so that you're not losing people? And that's where I would direct them in the house, and then they can earn whatever they can earn after feedback. And then for those of you that said that you hadn't had a buyer or seller closed, just making sure you have your follow-up system in place. Typically when someone's just starting, is when they like to go to open houses. A lot of you have your seasons people that work with agents. So the people that you're meeting are really just kind of thinking about getting started, or they haven't committed to working with an agent yet. So you have to have your follow systems in place in order for you to see the true success. And so that's any kind of, what are you going to do with that database lead? What are you going to do with that seller lead? And what are you going to do with that buyer lead? And for me, those are all drip campaigns. They're in KV Core. Do something to get them going. Come up with some kind of plan that can be repeatable. And even if it's simple and small, you can always build on it. So, like for a perfect example from this past open house that we hosted, we're touching base with everybody this week and doing, it's going to be the same thing. So I can just copy and paste the email, but it's letting them know what's being held open this weekend. I'm just coming from value, and I'm just giving them a touch from me, and I'm letting them know here's what's open. If you want to see it privately, reach out, and then we'll have another touch. So, all right. So, who's ready to host a creative open house? I know that probably seems like a lot, but you already have the foundation. You can start small. I gave you some small ideas, and then hopefully, if you're like, "Ooh, this sounds fun," it gave you the confidence to build up and create it bigger. And if you need anything, you can reach out. So, as always, you can get in touch with me anytime. There's my phone. You can friend me on Facebook. You can reach me through Tanya. I am an open book, and I love to help.